Did you know that Africa is home to the largest earthworks ever undertaken by human hands? Or that these earthworks produce the second largest wall ever made, consuming over 100 times more material than the Pyramid of Giza? Benin Empire was a West African state located in what is modern-day Nigeria and was established around 1000 CE by the Edo people, who originally called it Igo Demigido. The empire was ruled by the Oba, who were a powerful king or queen who held political, military and religious authority over the kingdom, and these Oba turned the empire into a major trading state with a strong economy based on agriculture, crafts and trade. A testament to this wealth and power were the monumental scale of the city's walls, which before the Industrial Revolution introduced machinery were the largest earthworks on Earth. This is an artist's depiction because obviously we didn't have drones or anything back then. This is what it would have looked like with the moat and the city walls and everything.
What, like circular?
Amazing. The walls themselves were made of rammed earth. This is actually a picture of one that remains today, and rammed earth is essentially just very compressed earth which is mixed with a small portion of clay to hold it together. These are actually very strong and they do last a very long time. Now these walls extended for 16,000 kilometers or 9,941 miles in a series of more than 500 interconnected small settlement boundaries covering more than 6,500 square kilometers or 4,000 square miles. If you don't count overlapping and reconstructed sections of the Great Wall of China, the Benin walls are actually 4 times longer. What? Here's a view along the streets taken in 1897, and these streets were also lit up at night by large metal lamps fueled by palm oil in order to facilitate work and trade after dark, and they also had underground drainage for stormwaters, and every single house in this city had its own fresh water well. This image also shows some, remaining walls over the modern day city of Benin, which is pretty cool. Mathematician Ron English described the city planning as perfect fractals laid out in mathematically predictable patterns and said in his book, and I quote, "When Europeans first came to Africa, they considered the architecture very disorganized and thus primitive. It never occurred to them that the Africans might have been using a form of mathematics that they hadn't even discovered yet." But as I'm sure you've been gathering as I flash these pictures behind me, the Benin Empire was also famous for its incredible ivory and brass sculptures that were highly sought after by pretty much anyone who laid eyes on them. This ivory giraffe piece is one of my personal favorites. I really love this. And I think this brass sculpture really shows the ability of these craftsmen. Like, look at this wiring and how intricate all this is. It's very incredible. As well as this ivory mask depicting Queen Idia, which is incredible. When the first Europeans arrived in Benin City around 1500 CE, they described it as an incredible place, largely free of crime and hunger, filled with friendly, courteous people who didn't even have doors on their homes.
Wow.
But unfortunately, this also marked the beginning of the end for the Benin Empire. 1897, as with many things, the absolute unit that is the British Empire showed up and destroyed the entire city in retaliation for the death of 20 unauthorized British traders, and further justified the attack by fabricating accounts of human sacrifice in the city. The destruction of the city did not mark the end for the Edo, who continue to thrive in modern-day Nigeria, and the 40th...
Honestly, sometimes it's so embarrassing to be British from the British Empire. Oh.
Ruler of the Benin Kingdom was actually crowned in 2016. Hit follow for more.
Okay. Did not know about that. Did not know about ancient Nigeria. Fascinating.
So even in our modern world, we still haven't located every single major archaeological ancient site left on the earth. And a lot of these ancient megalithic sites, we believe, are still hidden and tucked away deep within the Amazon rainforest. And just to give you an idea of just how massive this rainforest is, this is the Amazon rainforest in juxtaposition to the United States. A massive, ever-expanding, and completely inhospitable stretch of rainforest.
Who knows what's under there? So if you didn't know, recently they've been doing LiDAR scanning across the Amazon rainforest. I think they were doing it originally for another reason, like they were checking for farming or like soil for farming or something like that. Anyway, they ended up finding like huge lost cities in the jungle of the Amazon. There was always these like myths about these lost cities in the Amazon. Everyone was always like, meh, it's just a myth. But then they were like, oh no, wait, we found them. They would have held millions of people. What are we missing? I think that the exact same theory will prove true for the Sahara Desert. The Sahara Desert wasn't always a desert. It's only really recently, in like recent history, a couple thousand years, has it been a desert. Before that, it was like a really hospitable, lush, green, tropical place to live. And I think that that's where a lot of people did live, and that there will also be lost cities and whatnot in the under the Sahara. That's my personal theory, and I think we're starting to open up the possibility of it in the Amazon. And I think if we start LiDAR scanning the Sahara, we will see this stuff come out to play.
That expands for as far as the eye can see. In fact, even explorers as recently as the early 1900s, such as Percy Fawcett and Teddy Roosevelt, were very serious about the fact that they did discover structures within the Amazon rainforest while walking through it on foot. And that many times they wouldn't even realize that they were standing next to a temple, a building, or a small pyramid until they were just feet away. Even with LiDAR, we have still only mapped about 1% of the Amazon rainforest. And of the 1% that has been mapped, only about 1% has actually been traveled to and excavated. In fact, just 120 years ago, the Pyramid of the Sun, which is one of the biggest pyramids ever constructed in human history, looks just like a massive hill. I mean, just look at how dense the vegetation was when these pyramids were rediscovered. In fact, we really know so little about the ancient Amazonians that even the Mayans weren't necessarily Mayans, and they weren't necessarily all together.
This is also where, this is how much has been lost to history in relatively recent, like we're talking, what, maximum 3,000 years? What about the stuff that is older than that? We know that Göbekli Tepe, Karahan Tepe, all of the tepes that are coming out in ancient Turkey, these ancient, incredible, massive temples, stone megalithic temples, they were lost. They've recently been found. But what about all of the other? They can't be the only temples in the entire world around 12,000 BC. What other structures, temples, things in the world were there and that we have yet to find have been completely lost? Because if we can lose massive cities in 3,000 years, what could we lose in 10? Anyway.
Together. We just call them that because we know so little about them. You know, these ancient Amazonians, they knew things about astronomy, architecture, agriculture, medicine, botany. Some of the things that ancient Amazonians knew actually surpassed Europeans who lived at the same time. So if you guys are interested in lost cities, lost civilizations, lost technology, ancient history, ancient mysteries, please like and follow for more.
Amen. Wow. That was a lot to compute in a couple of minutes, but are you excited? I'm excited.